when you're putting the split case or the tunnel type transmission in a car, in a tunnel type transmission in a split case car, you can't put the holes where they belong. You can't put these where they belong. So what I use are Allen bolts. They're short, so they won't hit the sides. You could grind these more, the head off of these so they wouldn't hit, but they're fine. So what you would do is, without this side connected, you put this on and move it away from the hole, but don't change this depth. Keep it, so it's lined up with the hole, but not in it. And just move it to the side so that it's not trying to slide back into the hole. Just tighten it down really good. Then what you do is, watch this. This is first and second. See how little I had to move to change gears? There's third and fourth. And this is reverse. See how it rotates? So what you do is figure out a way to get it in reverse. You just connect this and keep fiddling, and you can just get it in reverse. Then disconnect the front shift rod. Disconnect this. Once you tighten this the first time away from the hole, just leave it alone. Then you take this and you put the shifter in reverse without it connected, and then connect it. And then if you're lucky, everything else it'll shift right into other gears. But the main objective here is to make it so it's impossible to put it in reverse unless you want it to. Because a lot of rebuilt transmissions have marginal parts, and some of them have marginal reverse gears. So if you got a rebuilt transmission, it's got one, and you use reverse and you grind in reverse a lot, you might end up with a transmission that won't back up, that has 4 perfect forward gears. So make sure this works right. And just because what I just said about, like, you put it in reverse and then you connect it, you still might have to adjust it, but some more. You might have to fiddle with it some more. But the thing is this: see, what you have to pay attention to is when you see, if I move the shifter to the left towards reverse gear, see which way that goes? This rotates, you could say right, but see which way it's going? Shifter to the left, shift rod to the right. So when you're doing this, think about what this is actually doing, and it'll help you get this connected right. So it works. It can work as good as new. The way, like it was made that way. A lot of these cars with these transmissions in, there's no detent, because it can be real frustrating trying to get this to work. But the best place to start is this. Just put this thing over and put it in reverse, put the shift lever in reverse, and connect it, and then that's step one. And then you're going to be fiddling for a while. Remember, you can adjust it up here too. Other shifting problems. This transmission came with this. You see there's 2 lengths. The car, when it was new, it had one this long, but this thing curved out a little, but it looked pretty much like this length and that diameter. The one that was on this transmission was this long with this hole diameter. I tried to find it so I could show you the comparison, but I can't dig it up, so this is another one. But this length requires more pedal movement to get the release bearing to go into the clutch and disengage. And the pedal isn't meant for this, it's meant for that. And so if this is longer, like if this was 10 feet long, this thing, when you push the pedal down, it would go like this. And so the longer it is, the farther the pedal's got to move, but there's a limit to the pedal. So you got to match this to the pedal, and this is the one you want to use. Now this one's got a bend. That's pretty unusual. Usually they're straight. This is for a wing nut. You can see it's got an oval shape, so is this one. That's for a wing nut. Now, other shifting problems with these. Inside the tunnel, there's a tube for the clutch cable. And every time you push the pedal down, that movement of the pedal is translated to tightening up the cable, like it stretches a billionth of an inch, a couple millimeters, probably something like that. And then the cable tries to be, because this was the other end of the tube, it's right there. That's the end of the clutch cable tube. Okay. No, wait. That's the where is that thing at? Oh, it's right over here. You see it? That's the clutch cable tube. That's the choke. I think that's the choke cable, which they chopped. So anyway, what happens is, if this flexes too much, this tube, it goes that way. then a lot of the movement of the pedal is translated to making this move, not the lever move. So the first movement of this pedal is going to be stretching the cable, the first few degrees, stretching the cable, bending the tube that way, and then making the lever turn. And there's a little flex on the Bowden tube too at the engine. So if you, there was a 60 bug, 1 year only, kind of, pretty much the same as this, cast pedals. Watch out when you buy these things new. They're selling the wrong ones. They say they fit everything. This is the one you have to use from, I think, 65 and back. If you put the later ones in, it won't work. You're going to be looking for a shorter brake pedal push rod tube. Push rod. That's not going to work. You got to put this pedal in it. If you stare at the stop on the bottom of this brake pedal is in a different place than the later one. The part that's welded, or on this one maybe cast into it, it's in a different place. So it won't work. It's never going to, car might kind of stop. It's going to be terrible. So that 60 bug, there was no bracket in the middle. Most of them are welded at the front, at the back, the tube, and then there's a bracket that comes from this side of the tunnel over to the tube, and it keeps it from going that way. And I think it's got the fuel line in it and this and that. But that 60 didn't have it. This one does. I look through here and I can see it. But the thing is when this car came new, it had a 36 horse engine in it. A 36 horse bug engine had less springs on the clutch than a 36 horse bus engine. So I think this is just weaker just because it's got than a later model than a later model, because this thing had such a weak clutch, so it didn't respond. There was less response here from the effort of the cable trying to move the lever because the clutch was weak, And so now everybody puts bigger engines in and this and that, but this is a weak link right here. And so this car, it wouldn't hurt to take this thing, because you got to mash it all the way to the floor to shift, but it's not negative play. There's no negative tension from the adjustment. You don't want to tighten the wing nut up so much that you've got tension on the cable all the time, because now your release bearing is hitting all the time. It's always rubbing engine, whether it's in or out. It shouldn't do that. And the way you adjust it, know that you have the proper play. You don't listen to the book with this pedal play. You go to the lever and you just do this. You go, if the lever was attached to the car, you go, and here's the wing nut, you go, it moves a little, see, it swivels on the shaft, and you go, I got a little bit of play, because you wouldn't be able to move it if the wing nuts, if the release bearing's jammed up against the pressure plate. But this tube, again, that one particular car, I swear it didn't have a middle bracket. And so it never shifted right, and fixed that, and it's like bulletproof. And that's one of the differences between like a Volkswagen and a Porsche. On a Porsche, I've never seen one, but I know this thing is in there really good. It's a little stuff like the push rod for the brakes and the mechanism for the pedal on a Porsche is a little better. So it makes everything feel more, instead of, it's more like, you hear that? This is a Volkswagen. This is a Porsche. And it's figuratively, it's like that everywhere. But this tube is an issue. So if you want your car to shift right, as I had to weld on the backside of the cross shaft on this thing for the release bearing, because the thing was just about ready to go through, and had a new paint job on it because it's rebuilt. And then again, the nose piece, okay, and the lever was wrong. So when you buy something, make sure it's okay, before you go putting it in, because this thing would have never shifted with that lever. Here's another tidbit. You see this thing right here? I put this thing in for him. There may be better places to put it, but that's where a later model came with it. So like if I have a 72 square back and I'm putting one of these things in it, it's going to go right here. So I go, well, I'm going to convert this car to 12 volts, so I'm putting it right here. But this is what's wrong with these. When the car is running and making electricity, the whole top of this thing is hot. When it's off, there's nothing, and when you turn it on, there's 12 volts here, if not more. I measured it, but I don't remember what it is. But it's actually hot. You can light a test light up with it. So when I put in a later model, I always bend this towards me just to kind of get it away. And the later model, the cars that came with this, they always had this piece of cardboard here to protect it from dropped pens and who knows. And then, so when I put the battery in, I pulled a bunch of soundproofing from underneath, because it was holding it up and it was practically touching this. And then and it came with this, so I made sure it's on. There's no securing for the battery, so But before, if it did that, it could have hit this thing. So just as a little added precaution, just a 30-second cardboard job, you could do better, but just something in there to help it from trying to short out, you see. So anyway, that's all you need to know about shifting. And it's this adjustment can be tedious, but your objective is mainly, you want it to work in all gears, but pay attention to reverse, and you can get it. And then when you're all done, it'll do this. See, if it's in reverse, now it's in, there's neutral, reverse, and now push. It'll pop. Hear that? See it come up? One more time. See? So that's when you know, that's part of knowing that it's in the right place. The gas pedal. You see that bolt right there? That's in a hole. I welded the original hole that came on this reproduction part. I see all these levers on your car, on all these old cars, all cars. This distance right here, calipers. On the new, the first thing what happened was I go, how's the carburetor working? Does it have full throttle? So I put a crankshaft, I put actually a lowered spindle, which to me is a boat hanger, a 2-incher, I think it is. And I put that on the gas pedal because there's no helper. And I see and is it floored? And it's right here. You can see it's about a halfway. And so why is that? Well, same principle as these guys. First thing I did was, this is an original one with a roller. But the distance between this, the pivot, and where the cable goes on a roller, on a later model with the roller but still a pedal versus this old one that's got the wheel. This thing probably had the wheel when it was new. Maybe it had a pedal, I don't know. But this distance is always the same. So what I did first with this one is grind these because they're too massive. So it would have more travel and it still wouldn't do it. So it was on and off a zillion times. This is what's holding it on as it comes out of the box. It's got this thing goes over the pedal or into the hole in the pedal that's in it. You see? And then this cotter pin. It might be the wrong cotter pin, but this thing was going like this. Maybe it would have never fell out. I don't know. Even without a cotter pin, it's got a lot of tension on it sideways. But the thing is it would never get full throttle except besides doing this, making these so it would swing farther. This is 5 millimeters off. About 5 millimeters. I can't find my calipers. I can't remember exactly what it was. What I did was I measured from here to there on this one. And then I measured from here to there on the one that's in it. And the one that's in it, the hole is right about here. So what I did was I filed that hole out to here. This distance, you can measure it. It's like 52 millimeters or something like that. But you measure your old one or your new fake, and whatever it is, just give it 5 more millimeters. And so what I did was I filed this till it was in the right place. So I got an oval hole. Then I welded this shut, and then I filed it round and got it, and the thing works now. But this thing would never, always check any car, when you're connecting carburetors or cables. Just because the cable moves, it doesn't mean, the gas pedal goes down. You can't see its objective is to move that lever all the way when it's floored. And if it doesn't, you're going to have a gutless car. And there's a book that's called How to Hot Rod Volkswagen Engines. And if you're going to read a book about Volkswagens and how they work, if you read that book, you'll learn stuff. And one of the things you'll learn is that races have been lost because that hole was in the wrong place.